Buongiorno again. I'm Salvatore. If you had an opportunity to see our first video, you noticed that it was an attempt for us to share our home with your homes. Because we got this incredible response, people were actually very enthused. We decided that we're going to perhaps make a series of this because we have a great deal to share. So I had mentioned the tower, the defense tower. And today I'm going to give you a little more detail about it. To do so, we need to get to the lower level because the tower is actually 4 stories tall. In walking to the lower level, you'll notice, I'm going to walk backwards now, we are coming down a ramp. And here we have this ancient wall. Imagine that when I purchased the property, this was all underground. In other words, from the outer perimeter of the defense wall, right there, the terrain just sloped upwards. In other words, none of this paving was here. Understand? This was all dirt. Now, we did know that the ancient fortress that used to be up here was destroyed. It was leveled to the ground with catapults and lead cannonballs. We knew that because there's a very important history book written on this castle. Its title is Un Popolo, un Castello. A People, a Castle. That's the title. Imagine it's 753 pages long. I've considered possibly translating it into English, but it's very dry, almost like a university textbook. Therefore, I haven't been quite motivated to do so. Anyway, we knew that the ancient fortress was here. Well, one day we just stumbled upon some rocks that were placed above this terrain in a linear fashion, and it enticed my curiosity. So with a pick, I started digging, and lo and behold, before I knew it, I started seeing actual beautiful stone, almost like finished stone, which clearly had been part of a structure. Now imagine that this wall has been underground for 500 and some years. As a matter of fact, the fortress was leveled to the ground in the year 1448. As I said, with lead cannonballs. Imagine some of the imprints that those cannonballs left right here. But look at this one. It hit it with such incredible force right in the actual stone itself that it embedded itself right here. So this was a very exciting discovery. Let us therefore remember that this entire structure was buried below ground. When we discovered this, because of the description that exists in that sheepskin parchment dated 836 AD, we were able to trace the actual shape of the ancient fortress. Presenting that to the Fine Arts Commission, they granted me the permission to be able to open a tunnel, which did not exist at the time. See, that was built from the time that I have purchased this. And that was permitted just so that we could showcase this wall and the beauty of this wall. Now notice that there is not a single piece of baked clay, terracotta here. This is all stone. It's all stone that has been worked by hand by serfs. The reason I'm mentioning this is because I want to now talk about the alterations that occurred to the tower which was built in the year 1122. So the tower, the many modifications that it underwent throughout the centuries. You might recall that I had mentioned that this was part of the expansion that occurred to the ancient fortress, which was completed by the year 1122, when because the serf had developed around the ancient fortress, they needed to design a new set of defense walls that incorporated, as I had mentioned, 3 towers. Now, these were defense towers. They were actually part of the wall, the perimeter around the heart of the castle, meaning that they were open on the inside. They were made of 3 exterior walls. This was the addition that was made to the existing fortress, which was present here at the time. In the overall structure of the tower, you'll notice that there is an arch of brick. By the way, notice the difference between that coloring and these 2 vertical columns of bricks. And then occasionally you see little patches of brickwork. And as we go further up, you see more brickwork. In 1122, only the 3 outer walls. I want you to follow vertically the line of the width of the walls, go up to the second window, and then about 2 feet downwards, look to your left, right along the vertical line, and see that big slab, triangular slab of stone. Pay your attention to it, and you'll notice that there are 3 lines of incisions, vertical. They are vertical lines, and they are incisions with writing. Imagine a writing which is from the Tardo-Etruscan time, meaning just before the time of Rome. Now imagine the importance of this is that everything that we see here, you see right here below, when we excavated, we did not find this as you see it, but we did find this within as debris that had been caused by the destruction of the ancient fortress. You see, this is the essence of Italy. The beauty of Italy is that our present is made of our past. And we cannot know where we are going if we don't know where we have come from. And this is what Italy is about. So just like in 1122, when they took a piece of stone which they found here of a building that already was over 1,000 years old, and they incorporated into that structure, so I, when I redid this, used all the debris, the ancient stone that was found here. Imagine this planter, if you look at it, it's a beautiful architrave with an arch, a rounded arch. This is part of the debris from the ancient fortress that was destroyed in the mid-1400s. So regarding one of the particularities of the original 3 outer walls of this defense tower, if you'll notice, this is all stone, chiseled stone. There is no brick. We start seeing brick here at this arch. Therefore, when the modification occurred in the mid-1400s, they decided to enclose this tower. Remember, it was open on one side, it had enclosure on 3 sides. They decided to enclose it by walling it in. To do so, they needed to distribute the weight of this wall, hence this arch. I want you to notice the difference in the quality of construction. Here, beautiful blocks of chiseled travertine, where an indentured servant who did not have the issue of time was simply there all day long, chiseling, fitting a perfectly squared off block of travertine to be able to use for these constructions, just like the ancient fortress that we saw before there that had been underground. Something changed. You see, prior to the mid-1400s, during the medieval ages, these were indentured servants. They were slaves to the castle owner. They did not have to be paid. They were happy with a bowl of soup, leek and potatoes. Okay? In the mid-1400s, something had happened, something very important to our Italian history. Imagine that an economy had arisen that created wealth, hence the transformation of the castle from a fortress to a regal-style residence. Well, in this tower, when they wanted to create a function for it, which we had spoken about in our first one, in enclosing it, of course, they had to build the wall. Notice the difference in the quality of the wall. Look at these little pieces of stone. Whereas the difference between the original wall with those beautifully carved blocks of stone geometrically placed, and now all of a sudden in mid 1400s, a wall which is made almost with little scraps so that they could work quicker. You know why? Because by that time the guilds had formed, and suddenly the owners of the castle had to pay their workers. Therefore, you have to be quick, because quality does not come cheap. And here they were not concerned about quality. The family that made this modification to the tower in the 1400s is a family by the name of Gori Martini, an aristocratic ancient family. Imagine that I purchased this property from them and they had had it in their possession for 526 years. The family has a beautiful coat of arms right there. Now, they owned it for 526 years. I purchased it only 20 years ago. My dream 20 years ago was that somehow or other we could create a dynasty that perhaps possibly have it longer than the Gori Martinis did. I was getting a little doubtful for a while until luckily my son Antonio married this beautiful Texan belle, this Rose of Texas, whose name is Casey, and they gave me the most beautiful child, who is Stella, that you're about to meet. As I had mentioned in the previous video, I was going to share with you the latest addition to our family. In a time where there is so much sadness in our country, this has been the greatest gift that we possibly could have asked for, because she has become truly a shining star for us. And her parents, mom and dad, aptly named her Stella. So, folks, here she is, the latest member of the Gangale family, our little star, Stella, my beautiful granddaughter, her beautiful mother, Casey, and my son, Antonio.
Hi everyone, we can't wait to have you with us again. Thank you so much for all the wonderful emails that those of you who have been sending us to check in on us. A big heartfelt hug to all of you, and we can't wait to share the extended family with you soon.
And when you come to the castle with your little ones, imagine that they will return as you have been returning to us many, many times. And when they come back years from now, this little pistol is going to be the one who's be running this show. And she'll do a great job, I know it, because she has the spunk in her. So we wait for you here at Castello.